Can you give us a little bit of the backstory of STARSET for those who maybe aren't familiar?
Well, just as a general statement, STARSET's we're all about self-awareness and technology and asking questions and using technology. Don't let it use you. So our main slogan is ISKF: ignorance is slavery, knowledge is freedom. And believe me, if you go to places like Russia and China, you're quickly realizing you know, don't just be yourself. Go and learn. Go and eat the foods. Go and try to learn their language. As hard as it is to learn German and then Italian and then French, because you're there within 3 different days, try. Just try. Because America, really, we wear this big jersey, but we don't have a lot to back that up, and not enough people really travel. I don't think enough people in America travel. Like, get your passport, go out and don't just go to Jamaica or the Bahamas. Like, go and you don't have to backpack. It's not that hard to go and survive around the world, but it's taking that chance and knowing that you can survive. It just takes other people around the world. People make a place. A place doesn't make a people. That's what I always try to remember, is like, if you're in LA or you're in Russia, both places have the same and the good and the bad. So you just got to go there and know what the good and the bad are for that place.
Yeah, so STARSET, would it be fair to say like kind of a concept band? Is that kind of...
Sure. We're considered cinematic rock.
Cinematic
rock.
rock.
So the music is...
Oh, yeah.
Like,
you
it's
can
like Hans
definitely hear
Zimmer.
that.
You know, it's very... tons of orchestra instruments. We have an amazing violin and cello player. Our violin player was at Trans-Siberian Orchestra for a long time. Her name's Shaban. Super amazing, super talented. And our cello player, Zuzana, is the Raiders football cello player. So her band, it's a big 15-person pop orchestra.
That's crazy.
They play every Raiders game. So that's kind of hard for her. She's like, I want to go on tour, but I'm missing every game at that new multi-billion-dollar stadium.
It's probably fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can hear that in your music. You know, it's very cinematic. You feel like this is a soundtrack to like an Interstellar-esque type film.
Absolutely. And we even have a comic book.
Yeah, 2 books, right? There was
we have a novel.
A novel and a graphic.
In the graphic novel, we have a full graphic novel from Marvel. So Marvel collaborated and wrote a comic book for us.
With the second album, is that correct?
I think it was about the second. I mean, we want to have one for... we want to have more. I can't really speak all to the business side of it, but we want to be immersive. So if you like comics, like we played Comic-Con a couple times. So if you like comic book stuff and you're nerding out like we are over that, cool. If you like heavier music, you don't have to like comics, but we got heavy, we got light, we got orchestra stuff, we got cool guitar riffs. We also have a lot of ballads you can sing along to. We don't swear. Our music is very family friendly, but we get, you know, our show. We're trying to be that Broadway cinematic rock band. So if you come and see a space show, we're all about space and technology. You're going to feel, in fact, one of our tours was called the Immersion Tour. So you're going to be immersed and full on. So we had AR. You can put your phone up and see a spaceship going over the stage. We had cool. The posters. If you put your phone in front of the poster, it does like a Pokemon. You know, something's in front of the poster all of a sudden. So you really can lose the sense of like, oh, I'm in downtown Columbus at Kemba Live. We want to make you feel like you're in a whole different place than what you are. And at the end of the day, with technology, the reason we want to try to be so immersive is because you have bands like Tool who don't want you to use your phones. You're only allowed to use your phones on songs 1, 2, and 3, or 2, 3, and 4, and anything else, they're going to take your phone or kick you out. Well, it's hard for us to say don't use your phone because we're based around technology. Yeah. So when you're trying to tell people to use your phone when you want them to, instead of telling them yes or no, say, well, you can use it the whole time, but where you're standing in the stage or like on your stage right or stage left, and you're using your phone to see all these spaceships fly over, well, if you see it from this side versus this side, you're going to get a whole different perspective of the show. So you have to come back to see our show again because you can see different things more than just us playing our instruments. And our big, crazy $100-something thousand LED wall, and we have cryo, but in space, cryo makes sense, you know? So we try to be function and then make that function fashionable.
Yeah. And kind of the backstory is, correct me here, that there was sort of an interstellar transmission that your band has received, and now you are telling the world.
We're spreading the message, yep.
I love that, man. And I think there's a ton of marketing lessons to be had there. I mean, because, you know, you just talked about all those bands that you toured with, and maybe they were successful at some capacity. Success in the music business is probably what, like, you can actually make a living, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you need 1,000 people a night and you can sell $10 tickets and that's all you need for your budget, cool.
That's pretty good.
You know, you got to do that 30 times. So maybe we can do 300 people and double the ticket price. It doesn't always translate the same way. So consistency is key. we've been in Wisconsin 100 times, but we go back there because we know that there are people there that are, Wisconsin's probably one of the best states in America for rock music, honestly. But so many, like Columbus is still one of the top 10 best cities for music in general, not just rock. So you kind of find your market, you find your niche. If you're playing littler shows and you find enough people to help you get down the way, then hopefully those people will tell at least one person, and then 300 turns into 600 and 1,200, and then it should exponentially grow. But it's a lot of marketing, like you said.
Yeah,
and the right marketing. You can't just spill all the beans. It's not really about who we are as people either. So we're not on stage like, hey, I'm Adam. It's just like, here's the space band, here's my favorite couple songs, and then you can go and do a meet and greet and still, hang out with us and see how cool and fun and talented and handsome we are. But anyways, we want to not bring the person side of it to the stage like a normal rock band would. We want to be a little more mysterious.
Yeah.
To that really creates the immersion factor, because if it's just Adam and Dustin and Ron and Brock, well, if you meet us 10, 20, 30 times, sure, it's hard to like let go of that face-to-face time. But if you don't know us, we want to seem like we're the biggest band. We're in space.
In the universe.
But in the universe, yeah. But then once you meet us, like, man, those guys are down to earth.
Yeah.
That was a terrible joke. I did not hit. I hope someone else laughed.
I didn't catch it. Thank you. Thank you for giving us you're a drummer, so why was I expecting anything less? No, the marketing lessons are amazing there to be had, because you aren't just a band, right? Like, there's thousands and tens of thousands of bands, and a lot of them play great music, but almost all of them we've never heard of, right?
There's a lot of bands out there now.
And it's not to say like you need I don't want to use the G word, the gimmick. It's not a gimmick, right? Mm-hmm. But you have thought out
you got to have a thing.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you've thought out the story of the band very clearly, and you have all these additional elements that go into it. And I think it would be really easy for certain people to go, well, that's lame. I see this in my company. You try to push something, and people's initial reaction are like, I don't want to do that. That's stupid. That's lame. Why would we do that? It's like, okay, we're going to do a new core value here. Like I was talking to Steve yesterday about it. Like, we want to put a new core value in at the company, Midwestern effort. People go, I don't like that, And it's this weird, like, kind of anti thing that people have.
Well, people can just digest music by just downloading one song nowadays. And I don't think that we don't create the comic book and the novel, which the novel's great. I helped edit the first edition in like a day and a half. It was like 55 chapters. They had to whittle it down a little bit. But you really learn it's not so much just a story. There's very much real timeline elements that tie in to the whole idea of what STARSET's really trying to bring to the table. And it's using anyone from Nikola Tesla, to Carl Sagan. Now, those people aren't like Nikola Tesla's part of our story, but the real.
Where does he come in?
You have to read the book.
Yeah, I gotta read the book. Yeah. The secrets are in the book.
Yeah, because there is a fantastical element to it, but it's a very real life story, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
So I can't divulge. There's going to be another book, so I can't talk like too much, because there's only been one, so people are like, what's the next part of the story? They're into the music, so they're trying to guess, where it's going to go. So only time will tell as far as how fast that other story will be put down, on the pages. But there's a lot more stuff coming up for sure next year. Hopefully people are still excited. COVID was a little tough for us because no one really got to tour. But once we got back out there, people were, we have such a great fan base. Yeah. Very diverse, very broad. People love all kinds of music that love our music. And that's where the immersion, I think, comes into play. People maybe just like a good show and don't even care what the music sounds like. Maybe people just like rock, and then they've never seen a show like what we put on. But also there's a lot of great bands we've toured with that have awesome shows too. It's just the elements that you're trying to go for in your own life. And we try to just make sure that everyone feels welcome at our shows.
Yeah, and you guys committed to it. I think that's the big thing, that if you half-heartedly go into something like that, it's like, oh, they don't really believe in this thing. And just in talking to you, even for a short period of time, I can tell you believe in these ideas. You actually are into it.
It's not really anything to just believe in. I had to believe in myself getting in spandex. Yeah. That was the hardest thing for me to make believable. It's like, hey, if we're gonna do this,
do we have pictures of that, Steve? Is that what that?
Are you gonna Google that? You can Google that. Actually, yeah. Let's see some pictures here. Just type in STARSET spandex, see what happens.
Yeah, and you know, so when you guys are touring, when you
It's
guys
not
are,
me good.
when you guys are touring, are you like full headset every single show?
We have 3 outfits. So
That
we
sounds
have 2
warm
different.
as
We
a
have 2
drummer.
different shows. It's very warm.
I was gonna say,
I have 2 of my biggest.
It's like a mascot uniform.
It's literally, well, it's a big shield that we have on our face. We've custom work. I mean, they're like thousands of dollars in the mask, in the electronics and stuff. But yeah, if we didn't wear it, like you said,
third picture right there. Yep, there you go.
That was one of the first photo shoots that we ever did. The third one in, well, that was, so that's our next, when we evolved to the next album
you
cycle.
Guys look like you're going to a sand planet.
Well, yeah, we have so essentially there's the Rebel, and then there's one called the New West, which is like, they're clean. They look like the people you want to follow, but really that's the Robin Hood. The new clean company is really the ones that's trying to take over.
World Order.
New West.
Yeah,
The New West. So we have different elements. So if you see our show, there's a part A and a part B. So it's just like a Broadway play. So we're trying to bring the show really to life. Every tour is different. Every set list, it can change and evolve, but we typically, we have like 60 something songs now with all the 4 albums. So that's a lot of music to memorize.
Yeah.
So when we go out, it's like, here's our set. What is the theme for that tour? And then that's where we try to develop everything around that then. Here we go. That's our original, the black suit right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's the original spandex
That
suit.
looks kind of cumbersome to play in.
I don't have the backpack on, but they actually have cryo tanks in their backpack that shoot out their arms like thrusters. And then we wore those suits, and we also made those suits. We kept going. We would make them better every year. And then eventually we went to the white space suit. Same concept of the mask. We just added blinders, and we have this big thing on top now that has, all the lights are on different circuit boards. So I have my own binary code. We have 30 something. Oh, here's a picture right in the middle of the thrusters on Brock.
Yep.
Up right here in the top, fourth one over, right there. Yeah.
Go.
So you see how it's shooting out his arms.
Yeah.
Those are actually big paintball tanks with
For
cryo.
those just listening.
So like I said, function, but also fashionable. Anyone can use cryo, but like we use it. Eventually I'll have a drum riser that looks like a big Mars rover lander, so it'll shoot up and walk around like that spider from Wild Wild West.
Yeah. For those listening, Brock looks like he's got almost like a full welding mask, like an astronaut. And then he's got, chest suit, and he's got...
There's lights in the suit. It's all custom built by our buddy who's a mechanic like a plane mechanic, Dave.
So when did you know that, oh, shoot, like, I'm actually going to be able to do this for a living? It seems like that was kind of probably a crazy moment for you.
I work very hard to keep myself the best I can be. I don't know if I can still live. I mean, I live off of it, yeah, but I don't want to I'm not just like, this is all I got to do. Like, I'm still out. I do graphics, installations. I've been working on this guy I know and has 23 stretch limos. So I love doing like wall wraps and graphic installation, and I also do paints. So I try to stay busy on my own. I've done drum lessons, but then we started touring quite a bit. So I feel bad teaching someone for 3 weeks and then giving up on them for 3 months. Yeah. I don't want to be inconsistent for their sake. So I can say that STARSET is a solid band, and they're doing the thing. We're off. It's making money. It's rolling around the world. We're worldwide. But I think as an entertainer, I'm just never just satisfied. I'm going to still keep working, even just to make STARSET better. I'm not just like, I can live off this. I want to keep making everything in my life better. So I'm investing a lot of the money I have right now. I just got a new place, trying to get a studio built.
Yeah, you want to talk about that? You said 3+ acres.
Yeah, I just found a really nice property. It has a goat barn, some chicken coops. I don't know if my parents want to take care of my goats while I'm gone on tour, so I'm gonna have to wait on goats. But yeah, I'm just at a point where I would like to invest in property and have a homestead, if you will. But we do travel a lot, so with that comes who's going to take care of the house. If a pipe bursts and I'm in Russia, who's going to fix that? So it's a little more cumbersome to find a whole network to take care of your stuff when you're gone on the road. And sure is awesome. I have a lot of great friends and family who always if I need something, they're there for me. I'm very fortunate for that.
And the idea is potentially to build a studio out of it.
Eventually, I would love to. Yeah,
maybe bands could come, live in, create albums.
Put it right in the forest in the back. So you're in the middle of Columbus, but as soon as you turn on my driveway, you start disappearing into the woods, and all of a sudden you feel like it's a whole new mindset. If you're more serene, kind of getting the distractions of normal life out of there. So yeah, we need a nice monitor and a computer to make music, but we don't really want the influence of the outside world. So just for mindset's sake, you can change your mindset on your own, but you got to go find that place. And I hope that's something I want to try to give to people, is getting away from your own self for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a historically consistent thing with bands, right? I know there's big studios like in New York, out like kind of in the farm area where bands would historically go.
You would never know it's there.
Yep. I know Kanye, he goes to Cody, Wyoming, when he's trying to do these albums. I mean, could be your studio, man. That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome. I'd love for Kanye to come to Columbus, Ohio.
You'd probably come back and that house would be messed up. You'd be like, Kanye, what happened,
That's
man?
fine, dude. I can get to say Kanye was there. I'll
That's
take
true.
the hit.
You just leave it damaged. Why does this look like this? Yeah,
This
you
is where
see those
Kanye punched
broken
the wall.
windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Kanye who did that. That's a piece of art he made for you.
throwing our platinum records around, though.
Be like, dude, it's winter. We have to fix this window. Be like, no, Kanye made it like that. Yeah, man. So talk to me about the music business. Everything I hear is that it's kind of a wild business. It's obviously difficult to make money in it, and there's different kind of pieces of it, right? And for STARSET, you guys obviously have streaming, you have YouTube, places like that. You have the things you're selling, merchandise, the graphic novels, things like that. And then you got touring, right? So there's kind of 4, maybe even more unique areas of income for a band.
Which really just means 4 more ways to spend money.
Yeah, right.
So it's very expensive. And frankly, I don't know a lot of the ins and outs of everything that STARSET does. But for a good reason, because I don't, I want to show up and play rock shows. But when it comes to entertainment in general, whether you're a basketball player or a musician or a cook, a chef, you can go and be popular just on TikTok. And I think that's what's changing a lot of the craft mentality for a lot of things. Like, we use computers, so we don't really have to write stuff down anymore. But some people really value not using a computer. They'd rather write a book by hand. So I value people that go for the craft side of things versus just trying to just digest as many things as possible. I'd rather have 1 or 2 things that I focus on so I get really great at that versus 10 things that I'm kind of okay with. So when it comes to music and entertainment, I try to stay off the internet as much as I can. Sometimes people get mad at things I say, but really it's not always even things I say. It's just the idea, the ideal that's behind maybe like a video I post or something. So I definitely need to always be looking at myself first to just realize that there's a lot of people out there that are looking up to us. And I don't want a single person to think that they're not worth the time, because there's a lot of, you hit your level. I can only speak to where I'm at in my life, but if someone only drives Lamborghinis and has a pool that's saltwater with a beach in their house, that might be cheap to them. That might just be their way of life. So to me, that's crazy. So trying to look up as a way to learn, because when you look down, you still can inspire people and help bring them up to your level. So music business, I guess in a nutshell, there's no like one right answer. There's a lot of wrong answers. So I used to book 21 Pilots at Scully's in Newport. I'd put them on like 3rd and 4th, right in the middle of the show. Well, now they're worth like $50 million a piece, but they were out doing something they loved, and we saw, we're like, these guys are at Scully's. They wrote 21 Pilots on a piece of construction paper with a Sharpie and sold burned CDs. And we're just watching them like, man, these guys are going to do something someday. Now I can sit and analyze their path, where they came from, where they wanted to go, who they worked with. I could put the same exact plan in place. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I'm going to be successful, because you can't just copy that's pretty organic. But then I think you hit that certain echelon where maybe things can be created a little more. Like on TikTok, if you really like this video, and then you got this Savage Love. I'm like, that's a cool song. Who's that? Oh, it's Jason Derulo. Oh, that's not organic. Like Jason Derulo's agent sent that song to TikTok to put on the famous next million hit video. So it can be constructed a little bit. Doesn't mean it's not a good song. It just means business is business still. So if you don't know all those back workings of what's popular, how do you know who's running the train? You know?
Yeah, and it's a balancing act, right? Like you want to make music that speaks to you and is unique and individual and independent, but you can't only just make music that you like, because it's like, well, hey, no one likes this,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Right.
So it's like a crazy balancing act. You know, I think about that with the podcast. You know, people talk about like audience capture, you know? You just start making stuff and then you figure out, oh, people like it when I talk about politics, you know? And then I get an audience, and then before you know it, it's like you're a political show. It's like, oh, geez, this isn't really what I wanted to do. And I'm sure as a band, that's a balancing act too. You're like, we want to make what we make, but we also want our fans to like it. We want new people to like it. Maybe we want to grab some new fans. You know?
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
Well, when we're touring and opening for other bands, say Five Finger Death Punch, or, you know, big awesome bands like that, and great people, you know, it's crazy to say I get to hang out with like Five Finger Death Punch and stuff, but we don't do it for that. We're trying to still be there for a reason. So we don't just want to be like the cool guys trying to outcool the cool guys. We want to bring something to the table. And I think online, you just got to be a cool person and have something even for 15 seconds that people can digest. Now you can make $1 million off that every year, but you won't necessarily be as organic the next time you try it. So you won't be as popular even the second 15-second viral hit. I mean, there are people that can do it, but typically platforms like we were talking about Kanye, like obviously he puts out a video for 15 seconds. That's going to, no matter what it is, get millions of views. If I put one out and it could be the literal next best video anyone has ever made in the world, right, it might only get 1,000 plays.
Right.
So how do you like, I don't know how to really move that video any faster other than my networks and my means. So if you have the power and the name, you can obviously influence a lot quicker. And that's what I'm saying. Like, things can be constructed easier than people realize. Like Justin Bieber, Baby. That wasn't like he just all of a sudden got famous in 9 months. Like, let's be real here. Usher already had some stuff going on, and good for them. Yeah. But again, try to copy it, probably won't work out the same.
Yeah, so I mean, you've clearly been around a lot of bands, some of which were successful, some of which were wildly successful. Are there common elements that you've seen, like, hey, bands that can do X or Y or Z, like they're gonna push forward, or is it just like, man, I mean, hey, you're throwing darts?
Buses are 30 to 40 grand a month. So just, if you're in a local band, just remember, if you want a tour bus, you got to at least make $30,000. That's, if 10 shows, you need to make $3,000 a show.
And that's what you're pocketing. And that's still like,
that's just even, to go into the bus.
Yeah.
But so then that's not merch cost. That's not paying your crew. That's not buying
food,
drumsticks, not food.
Hotel stay unless you're staying on the bus.
What if what if all of a sudden your tire falls off your bus, or a trailer needs an axle replaced? There's just, it takes so much more money than, and luckily, like I said, I don't have to deal with all that stuff per se, but there's a lot of people who want to go and make it, but they're like, I got the best song. But it's like, well, dude, there's not like an A&R development like Motley Crue has. Their manager is sitting in a bar, drunk, got nothing else left in life, needs something, sees this band, I'm going to develop them and take them around the world. Well, yeah, if you're Motley Crue nowadays, you better have $250,000 either already put into your name or in the bank, because they're not going to develop you the same way. How many people are already polished on TikTok that don't even have a record label looking at them? So it takes a lot more money to get off. You know, you got to prove yourself differently now. Back then, you didn't really have to prove yourself other than being a really talented person.
Yeah.
Pop culture doesn't always mean talent anymore. It just means it's popular.
Yeah, it is kind of, interesting to think about how music and the popularity thing has changed so much. It used to be, right, like somebody finds you at some, local bar and they're like, we want to sign this band. And it's like, we're signed. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, we're going to get rich. Why? Because we're signed, They're
going to front you $1 million that you got to pay back.
Yeah.
No, nothing's free in this world.
Well, yeah, right. And I'm sure you could talk about that, but that was kind of like the thing. You watch these like 70s, 80s docs, and it's like this band got signed and boom, they're like, they've made it.
Well, there wasn't social media back then, so you had to go out.
Right.
You could have radio or sell vinyl records and tapes and cassettes and stuff, but there wasn't an instant connection. Like my buddy,
a gatekeeper. Yeah, the record label, the radio station, and those are all gatekeepers.
Exactly, and that was the ultimate dream. Let's get signed to a record label. But nowadays, it's like record labels are going to have power, but how much do you need them? 100%. How much do they need you? Well, they got a budget to spend, so even if they give you $200,000 contract, you might get shelved because they have $1 million that they can just waste every year. And that's just spitballing dumb numbers. That's not like a realistic number. I'm just saying there are very real times. I know many bands that have done a lot of work and it just gets shelved, and then you get dropped from that record label because they didn't have time for you, and now that band has a hex on it because like, oh, what'd you get dropped from that label for? Well, they just didn't want to work with us. It's not like you did anything wrong, but now it's perception and perspective. You're going to look like you got dropped from a label no matter what the reasoning is. So it's probably going to lessen your chance to get a bigger label next times. But nowadays, start small. Put your own time and your own money into it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the more you do that, the less the big guys and girls got to work on you, which means they're going to, they don't want to spend money on you. They want to make money off you.
Yeah. And, I give that same advice to basically everyone who wants to start a business. I think the parallels between a band and a business are probably one and the same. Like, take $1,000 and see how far that can get you. We started this company, which now has, 30 employees, and this year will cross $100 million in total lifetime sales of the business.
That's awesome. Man.
We started it with, thank you. Started it with $1,000. Put $1,000 in. We sold $1,300 worth of stuff. Took that, bought some more stuff. Sold $1,700. Took some, money. Bought in again, $2,500, and before you know it, now we're 10 years down the road. I know you said 10 years for STARSET this year. We're at 9 years and 2 days. So,
okay, cool.
we just hit our anniversary there. So next year will be 10. Any given point in time, we have somewhere between $4 and $6 million of inventory. And that wasn't because we kept putting our own money in from other side projects. It's like, no, we sold that, we reinvested. We sold it, we re-upped, know? And that's kind of the model that I tell most people, especially if you're like a first-time business owner. So many people, I think, get caught up when it comes to business and like, hey, I need like 30 grand to start this restaurant or this bar or whatever. And it's like, hey, just start small. Like, start a stump grinding business, man. Like, start a door-to-door lawn care business. Just get going. Do something. And then find out, like, do I even want to be a business owner? Like, after you get going, are you like, oh, this actually isn't what I thought? Like, I'm sure tour life is not what you thought it would be, when you're first getting going. But be like, is this the field that I want to do? Right? Just like you, like, is this the band I actually want to be in? Is this the genre I want to be in? I thought I wanted to be a drummer. Turns out I want to be a guitar player. Turns out I want to be a singer.
I wish I could play guitar. Guitar hero, I'm great. Guitar, I'm not so good.
Well, you got at least one of those two things on me. But then you at least learn some things about yourself and learn things about what it actually is like to be a business owner, or learn what it's like to be in a band, because it might not be what you thought it was going to be. And you've already dug 30, 40, 50 grand, into it, and you're like, well, that was an expensive experiment.
Yes.
And then after, you're like, I'm done. I'm never doing that again.
And I was going to say, and then people just want to give up on their dreams. That's where
I tried. It didn't work, man.
And that sucks, because if money is the reason you can't get there, it doesn't mean you're not talented. Like, brains don't equal money. Money doesn't equal brains. It's another thing I usually think about when I'm riding my motorcycle in traffic. Like, you can be rich driving a nice Tesla down the road, but if it drives for you, where's your connection to driving? Like, should you even be in a car? Because now you're kind of unsafe. You can't really operate that vehicle. Going down the road in a tour bus, I got to trust that driver, So there's different elements to always be looking at. And I think, like, from a business standpoint, it's like a family though, from a band standpoint, you don't want your merch person to change every tour. If we have, Steve, bringing out some cameras on tour, I don't want a new photographer next tour, because now Steve knows how I play my drums, and so he never gets in my way of my drumsticks. And now new photographer person comes in, and I smack him in his camera the first time because he doesn't know how I work. So you find that chemistry and that vibe. That's not just like a business thing. You got to go and learn that. You got to go and put your own blood, sweat, and tears. And I've broken all my knuckles on my drums, and I bleed everywhere. And we got to wash our spandex and stuff. So it's really, I think, less about the business side of things. I don't like to think about business if I don't have to, because it's always going to come back to business. If you want to do it professionally or whatever you say. If you just want to build a studio and have fun making music, there is no reason that you have to think about anyone else's opinions. If you're trying to sell it, now you got to get a bigger screen or make the lights cool so someone wants to vibe out in there. So now you're kind of having to look at the outside distractions. But if you can still keep yourself grounded, humbled, don't stop what you're going for, even if it takes more money. Like you said, I didn't just start off with a nice, cool drum set. In fact, I have to do a lot of the work myself still. I got to find someone to powder coat it. I can't just call up my drum company and say, hey, do this, because it'll probably be like $10,000. I could probably do it for about $3,000 on my own, but it's still the same thing. So if you can go out and try, don't ever stop. And if anyone has any ideas, by all means, I like to talk to people about their visions, not to steal their ideas, but to learn about why they're so drawn to this thing. I like weird things like float tanks, and I play didgeridoo. In fact, I build them. I like to splatter paint, which is you can flip it upside down and it changes your whole perspective. I appreciate the things that aren't just like the normalcy of day to day. I like to see unique things because I feel like I can learn better from something that's completely different versus something I see every day. I want to see something different to challenge my own beliefs in that. So if I flip my painting upside down, I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before. Then I think, oh, what if I did that at my job? What if I just flip it upside down and try something completely new? And you do that every day on tour because every day is the same job, but whole different office. It's like sometimes you're typing with a keyboard and there's no vowels on it, but you still got to write a good paper. I don't know how to really put that into words other than if you don't keep trying, you'll never find another person that could maybe help you or that you could help them. And now you got a team. Now that's that network that's building. You can't do everything on your own, but you got to keep, you're the only one who can keep pushing yourself truly at the end of the day.
Well, to your point, it sounds like, as far as business goes, you try to stay kind of, I don't want to say away from it, but that does enable you to have that creative side. Like you just said, like you paint, and you play the didgeridoo.
Well, you got to go buy supplies, so you're going to have to go spend money. That's business now.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell me to clean up my mess before I started painting, because now you're stunning my creativity. Don't tell me, hey, you're going to have to buy more paints. I know. Like, if you're going to go and be the best Gordon Ramsay, don't tell them to clean up the kitchen. Don't tell them to go make a mess. In fact, if you tell them to make a mess, they might not make a mess. So you can influence people very quickly. So shut the doors. In fact, I have a brand called Drum Abuse.
Yeah.
Drum Abuse is all about drumming up an idea and abusing your creativity. But it also happens that in 4th grade, I got drumsticks instead of Ritalin because I was getting kicked out of class for tapping on the desk and stuff. Actually, I've done really good at it today. I haven't tapped at all. But I had a passion for music, and I didn't even know that it was a passion for music. I picked up on drumming really quickly, never stopped. So to me, Drum Abuse is very real because I had great parents. They gave me, a chance to go out and try. I had great teachers, especially in music. And then once I actually got the concept of, it's free to try things. You can just go out and just make up an idea and go try it out. But then when it comes down to actually being successful, I needed good teachers. I needed my parents to pick me up from drum lessons or buy me new drumsticks when I broke them. So you're always going to be, pushing yourself, and someone, even if they got to pick you up a little bit, that's what I want to be that for people. Not as a martyr, but just as, hey, if you ever need anything, you need advice, cool. You need a drummer, cool. If you like to splatter paint, here's some paints because the paint store is closed. Go have fun and show me what you did when you're done with it. Tell me how fun it was for you. Tell me how much you hated it. I can learn more from people than I can learn from just sitting and death scrolling on my phone as a screenager. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to be in real life and then go back to the internet and be like, hey, this is what I learned today. If you like it, cool. Take it or leave it. You can learn from it. It's nothing. I'm not trying to sell people on that. If I put up a drum video, sure, I'm trying to sell you on how cool I am, but watch the video because you like drums or you like music. Don't just watch it because, I'm trying to sell you a t-shirt. That's the side of business I don't like to be on.
How different do you think your life would have been if you didn't get drumsticks and you did get Ritalin? You think about that ever?
I definitely wouldn't be talking to you today probably because I had so much energy. Like they were kicking me out of school. Like I was getting in trouble. So my parents he's not a bad kid. He sits in the house. He listens to music all day. He's a quiet dude. We got him some drumsticks. That's probably what he's doing. So back then though, that was 1990, late 90s, like 98, 99.
Yeah.
I mean, our school system was a lot different back then too.
Our understanding of what that medicine is and what it does. It calms kids down.
Yeah, just give them this make some zombie. Maybe they might need it. I may need it, but I didn't luckily go that route. I went more of the craft side, more of the get your hands and, break your knuckles, get your knees scraped up. I played so many, sports and I loved music. School, I was good at school, but I didn't have the grasp of wanting to sit in a classroom all day, and I just want to be out playing my drums or riding my bike. I was a very energetic kid. So when you sit someone in a class for 8 hours, of course they're going to be a nuisance because they're energetic. How do you get their energy somewhere? I would definitely be a proponent of finding schooling for kids at younger ages that if you're a really great chef and you're 5 years old, Put them in chef school. Like, make them great at that. Don't give them 100 other options, because now they might not be great at anything. You can have fun as a kid, of course. But if you love baseball, and you love math, and then you love playing drums, and you love cooking, do you have time for all those things in a day? You got to eat. You got to do your homework. You should probably choose, if you're really great at baseball, just have music as a hobby. Or if you just love throwing the baseball, if you really love playing guitar, pick up your guitar a couple more times than you do your baseball mitt, because that's where the true dedication will shine. If you sit there and just do it and do it and do it, no one has to tell you how to do it, but you can find your own way many times. And then you have YouTube University. Yeah. You can learn for free from people. So,
yeah, I mean, so many kids that are kind of maybe in a similar situation to you, if you take that kid and you try to stunt their energy, it's like, what do you want? I want a kid who has lower energy. It's like, what are you saying?
Don't buy a kid then.
Do you want an adult that has low energy? Do you want an adult that doesn't have passion? And those are the least interesting people that I meet. The kind where it's like, well, what kind of music do you like? It's like, oh, I like everything. Like, what kind of food do you like? Oh, I like everything. It's like, hey, I don't care what you like. Like, I don't care if you're into like Russian scream metal. It's just like, tell me why you're into that.
Yeah.
And if you're actually passionate about that, like, sweet. I'm interested.
I'm going to look it up now.
In that, because you're passionate. And you can tell me why, and the artists and what they're doing right now, and all these things down deep. It's like, I'm way more interested in that than someone who's like, I don't know, like, I like pop, and music's just one thing. But like, well, what are you interested in? Oh, like, I don't know. Like, if you're interested in like, pre-Civil War history, what kind of weapons they use, like, sweet, tell me about it. Yeah. I want someone who's passionate, and those kids who like, they have their energy stunted, you're just not going to get that person at the end that's like, I'm really into X. They're just not going to be into anything. And look, I'm not a parent. I don't know if you are. So I can't speak to what it's like to have a kid like that. And like you said, maybe some kids do need that, but not all of them.
I have two nephews that are very high energy, and one of them, the older one, he loves drums, and he's already got a miniature Pearl custom wrap drum set. It matches my big drum set, and he already plays STARSET songs, not like ripping up full on beats, but he can play. He's rhythmically on time, and he crosses. I'm kind of a flashy drummer, so he'll cross his arms and try to spin his drumsticks.
There you go.
So even seeing someone that young being able to see and dissect what I'm doing and start doing it without me even showing him anything, you can really affect people pretty quickly. I think that music it's changed my life completely. It is what I do, but the fact that I get to use music to open people's mindset and open their mind's eye, even it's a challenge, but it's like the best challenge. I'd rather do this than anything else in the world, because I get to learn something about everyone I meet, even if it's for 10 seconds. Like, we already got something in common. It's music. It's not just my band. It's music. So I like to go around the world making friends and collecting Wi-Fi passwords, because you need to stay connected to those people. But having like my nephews being so young, just like, I know they're going to be energetic kids, but they're already getting great teaching from my sister. We try to do what we can to give them the fun tools. We don't tell them to put your shoes on the right feet. Like, their shoes are always on the wrong feet, whatever they dress themselves. Like, I learn a lot from them every day, just because they don't get life yet. They're just doing what they do. You shouldn't criticize children as much. Sure, if they're crying all day, but why are they crying? Are you doing something right? Are you doing something wrong? And their minds are very fragile too, because if you do something today, they might remember that forever. And they're 5. I still remember things when I was like 4 and 5 years old that it just pops in my head sometimes, like, oh, remember that? I was like 4. My mom's like, yeah, you remember that? I'm like, I guess so. Yeah, I remember that from like daycare. She's like, that's crazy. How do you remember? I'm like, it's not that I remember it. It's just, it's always been there. And I just remember like Gladys's turkey dinners and stuff after school. Like, why would I remember Gladys's turkey dinners? I know that's random, but things like I still pass by that daycare every day. That's my life. That's what I did. That's where I came from. I can't forget about that. I need to remember all the time where I come from, so that way I can either make this better or moving forward. It just kind of, it's your experiences directing your path.
Yeah, I recently heard that the music that you listen to, like as your brain's kind of forming between like that 7 to 17, that like 8 to 18, that's kind of like your base level music that you listen to. And it's sort of hard for you to rewire like what you want to hear. And I'm like, that's really interesting, because that's true for me.
Yeah.
And the music that I was listening to when I was a kid was like rap music that my parents, like, I knew were not supposed to see, and now it's like I'm still a big hip hop fan. And obviously you have other things you listen to, but what were kind of your early musical influences? That's weird that you were just kind of like naturally drumming. Do you think that came from somewhere?
My father played drums till like 7th or 8th grade. So he had a pair of drumsticks and a little drum pad that I ended up finding the drumsticks, and I started breaking all these pots and pans and Tupperware. My dad, I grew up listening to like Celine Dion.
Okay.
And ABBA. I love Celine Dion.
Awesome.
Love ABBA.
ABBA.
Ozzy Osbourne. You remember back in the day when you can get that magazine that's like, buy 100 CDs for $10?
No.
It's like you could just flip through a magazine of CDs, and it was like a really cheap, you could like subscribe to it. So every month you can choose like 5 or 6 CDs. Well, my dad would do that and collect. So I would always get CDs. Like I got Korn, Follow the Leader with Got the Life. And that was my first parental advisory album that I got. And I was in 4th grade. And
there's a funny story about parental advisory. They started making bands. I think it was NWA was the first band. It's either NWA or Public Enemy.
And then Dee Snider from
and
Twisted Sister.
They started putting it on the albums, and they realized that just made the album sell that much faster. So then bands would put parental advisory on their album regardless, because they're like, if you don't have this, the kids just won't buy it.
That's so funny. No, that's true, because I felt bad. I felt like, I got this album.
Yeah.
And believe me, that Korn album is raunchy. It has like Fred Durst on it. It has Ice Cube on it. Hey. I mean, it's like Children of the Corn, All in the Family. If you're under 18, don't listen to those songs. But I was like in 4th grade. And then my parents actually ended up taking away my Everclear CD and Alanis Morissette at one point. They gave it back. But
Alanis Morissette was banned?
Because she said, hand in your pocket. I got one hand in my pocket. And it says chicken shit. Like, sorry if I can't say chicken crap. But I'm like, you're going to take my CD? Have you heard this Korn CD, Mom?
Yeah,
like,
right,
no, don't hide that one. Don't let them see this one. And,
wait until you hear about this other CD, Mom.
Yeah, but here I'm listening to like Ozzy Osbourne and other bands. My dad would buy a lot of music. But because of that, my dad would get me... I listened to, Slipknot. I got that new album, and there was, it was before Five Finger Death Punch, but Motograter was the singer that the band was in, Ivan was in. So I got all these, I thought like B-side, not that really popular of band albums, but here I just didn't have the internet. So I was just learning, this band's actually big. Oh, this band's cool. And before you know it, I had like hundreds and hundreds of CDs. And we still have them to this day. I just don't have a CD player anymore. I got to figure that out. But, I got versed to a lot of different music. Green Day, Tony Braxton. Unbreak my heart, say you love me. Like, so I wasn't just listening to one kind of music. I was listening to a lot. But, I would play the drums too. My first song I ever learned on the drums was Matchbox 20, Push.
Okay.
I want to push you. And there's a fill in it. Just a simple 1-bar fill. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. Mom, I need a drum set now. And I begged him for like a year.
It's funny you picked that of all things, and you're like, I didn't hear the guitar riff. You know?
No, in fact, another song when I was in, I want to say I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was going to preschool in Hilliard, and there's always something there to remind me. If you know anything about drums, listen to that song. There's like 6 drums going at any given time. And I remember thinking, how can this one person play that many sounds with only 2 hands? And come to find out, it's an electronic sample synth over the drum set part. But I already could. One drummer. It probably was just one drummer layering stuff. Like nowadays, you got like the trap hit the hi-hat like. You can't go. You can't do that physically. You can't. Like you got to miss some beats here and there in order to make it work. I could my cognitive recognition of music already, without knowing anything about music, I could already pick things out. Like, how is he doing all that? And I was like 5, like barely could wipe my own butt,
Yeah.
But I got drumsticks, and my parents just let me go be weird.
Oh, that's how you become a professional, man.
Be weird in anything, and people will start giving you money. Absolutely.
Adam, let's take a quick break, man.
Cool. Let's do it.
So, Adam, tell me about this project you got, Drum Abuse.
So yeah, drumabuse.com is, I mean, it's my baby. You know, it's a brand, but I don't think about it like a brand. It's more of a lifestyle. Everything that I sell, I wear. In fact, I just bought 5 pairs of socks.
There you go.
Just bought another T-shirt, and it's not just to promote my own stuff, but I do use everything that I sell on tour. So when it comes to, like, you know, we sell merch, sure, but I try to make sure it's all good quality stuff. It's not overpriced. I'm doing it to be able to have other people want to, you know, my socks, I don't know if you noticed, but my socks actually match my drum set.
There you go.
So you can match the stage without having a full spacesuit on,
Yeah.
because that can get pretty pricey. It can be a couple grand in order to match.
And where are you going to use it?
Exactly. You better be at a lot of STARSET shows.
Yeah, right.
So when I came up with the concept, like I had said previously, I was pretty young, but Drum Abuse has been something I've actually owned the domain for like 10 years. I just needed content. I needed a reason to make people understand where does drum abuse come from. So really, it is just it's a collective. It's a mindset. You know, it's a creative community. Really, I just want to be able, like I said before, it's not about being wrong to challenge yourself. It's about finding a way just to improve and be better. No one's perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. But I always try to look at myself through the eyes of someone else. Mm-hmm. You know, because especially on stage, I'm a very, by nature, a shy person. I have a lot of anxiety, you know, and traveling a lot, it creates some depression. You miss things, and the next day something's great, and then so it's always a balance. But this gave me something to really to look forward to, and ultimately, it was supposed to be my painting gallery. So, looking at splatter paintings, you really can take, like, say, this one right here, "Scene of a Time," is one of my favorite paintings. There's no orientation per se. Like, you can hang it up this way, you can hang it at an angle if you want to, however you want to feel that day with that energy coming from that painting. I use a lot of, obviously, listen to music. I try to, you know, splatter to the beat of songs. I'll say a number, like I love the number 13. So I'll do 13 circles in a painting, but only 13. So it's a challenge, as in it's going to be what it's going to be. It's the energy of that moment. Whereas I suck at painting like ducks and boats. Yeah. But you can't really flip a duck painting upside down and see a different perspective on that. That duck's just drowning now.
Yeah, so you want to describe these kind of paintings and the style for people just listening?
Yeah, so it's considered splatter paint. Some of it's pouring acrylics, where it just, like the one on the left here, just kind of let it run how it's going to run. It's ultimately one of my favorite artists now is Jackson Pollock.
Yeah,
who you can maybe see the similarities. I had no idea who he was when I started doing splatter paintings.
Really?
I just did it because I worked with my buddy Mike, who's a graphic sticker guy and painting. He just gave me a bunch of paints, so I just started pouring paints. I'm like, this feels really good, and no one has to care because it's my mess, it's my garage. I can do whatever I want, and it really gave me a new freedom for my own creative outlet, because I mean, I'm fortunate I can sell them now, right? But I never make a painting with just the intention of I'm going to go out and sell this. It's how cool can I make something with an energy to arrive at a statement, because ultimately art is about a statement. So if you are taking a paint can, hanging it from a string, and just letting it go, and it just makes a crazy thing, you know, well, you can't control how it ends up. But also the thing about artwork is, if you did it first, yes, of course, I can go and do it too, but I didn't do it first. So you're now learning from the original person. So one thing I remember reading, I think it was Jackson Pollock. He said it's not about how you create it; it's about arriving at a means of a statement. So splattering paint for Jackson Pollock, he never put a brush on a canvas. He would use big broomsticks and just throw the paint everywhere. He never put a brush stroke on the canvas. Painting is putting a brush stroke. So right there is already flipping the whole art world upside down.
It's kind of a painting.
It's kind of, I mean, there's paint on a canvas.
Yeah.
And he didn't start out that way. He started out very primitive, like a red square on a white canvas, and then like a yellow and a red stripe, and that's it, and like a blue accent. And as he got more, and I mean, he went through a lot of alcoholism and depression, and for 3 years he'd be sober and paint, and he'd run out of ideas, and he'd get drunk again for 2 years, and then do something else.
Whoa.
And one of his most famous paintings, I mean, they're massive. They're 40 something feet wide. They had some down at the Columbus Art museum for a while too. So I went and saw those. But some of his paintings, he would just take his shoes off and walk around on his paintings and whatever. And one of the times there's a recounting a story on his biography. Someone was there watching, and he was drinking a beer, and he dropped the beer, and it shattered the glass everywhere. Well, he kept painting and ended up stepping on some of the glass. So his bloody footprints and the glass are in that painting still. Yeah, look at this. See, you could look at that thing forever and never see anything, or you can see something new every single time. I believe that one. I thought it was this one right
MoMA.
here. The Museum of Modern Arts. That, I mean, it looks like a mess to some people, but to me, that looks like a good time. He had a blast doing that, and who knows what his mindset was. That's his mind right there. What's that feel like to you? Well, that's what it felt like. You'll never know what it's going to feel like to him, but that's what it feels like to you in this one moment. I mean, that's back from the 50s.
Yeah, I also
it might be from the 40s.
Heard that part of the explanation for why his type of art is visually appealing is because it's fractal, meaning that like the closer down you get, it all kind of like is similar. Like the classic fractal is like the triangles, you know. Steve, you could probably pull that up. I'm sure you've seen it, but it's essentially, wherever you look, it's all the same, whether you're at the large scale or the small scale. So, yeah, and I don't know, if that's substantiated or not, or if you've thought about that at all. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and you don't need like technical painting skill. It's kind of a different thing, right?
It's natural. Yeah, it's almost a natural way to paint. It's almost like it was meant to be that way.
Yeah,
but you don't really have a way to say how it was meant to be.
A fractal is a never-ending pattern. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. Essentially, you can zoom in on a section, and if you zoom out, it looks like the whole painting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is cool.
Yeah. So, how long you been painting for, or would you call it painting?
I mean, I love artwork, but I've been doing the splatter stuff since I was in an art class in college.
Okay.
And I think this might be why I really took more of a liking to it, was because my art teacher Nicole, she was pretty opinionated and brutal. I'm like, this is an art class. How are you going to give me rules here? Like, isn't this subjective? So one of the like first projects we did was black India ink on a white piece of construction paper. Well, when we all showed up to class, we all hung them up on the board, and I think this is like 2006 or 7. We hung them all up on the board, and it was like white with black, white with black, white with black, and right there in the middle was mine that I ended up putting pink acrylic glue and red ragu sauce on the black and white painting. I don't know what enticed me to do that, other than I'm like, I'm not gonna follow these rules. I want to do it this way. And she ended up pulling me out of class, because it was kind of funny too, because I'm like the only one with any color, and obviously it was an easy assignment to do. She pulls me out of class. She's like, hey, I can't really give you a full grade on this because you didn't follow the rules. And I said the same thing. I'm like, it's subjective. That's fine. I'm not really here to be, I'm not trying to be in art. I'm trying to be in music. So I was being a little bit hard-headed when it came to it. But she's like, I appreciate what you did, but you're going to get a C on this. So if you want to do something else, you can. I was like, that's all right, whatever. Ended up getting like a high B in that class. And the next quarter, they called me to put that painting in a gallery. So C's can get degrees.
Hey.
The George Bush motto. But I just threw paint, got in trouble, and ended up being successful with that. And I've always kind of I just found a picture of it. It's my screensaver on my computer. It's just little piece of paper, but red ragu sauce. That was like the first creative, like messing around creatively with different media. Like I had just used black ink and white, or a bucket of paint my dad had from the deck. So once I found the glue and the ragu, I'm like, this is kind of fun. Like I have a story to tell people now. And sure enough, they called me to do that gallery, and they still have the painting. They kept it. So that was kind of fun to learn that.
Get that painting back, man.
I wish I could.
Gotta holler.
I wish I could. That'd be worth at least like $100.
You'll find that on eBay someday. You'll be like, these sons of bitches.
Dang, Ohio State is a good business. Dang.
Yeah. So where do you see kind of your creative endeavors taking you in the future?
Hopefully I can, I love music a lot. I want to stay prevalent in that, but I also see building a studio as a way to combine my loves of painting and being creative, finding that cool vibe, but also staying in music, trying to create a place for other musicians to hopefully want to gravitate to, and to be a creative force in the industry. I don't think I can compete with like $1 million Nashville studio, but I know everyone that goes to Nashville, so might as well start, you know, like we had said, you just got to start trying. And if it takes money, it takes money, but everything does. So start small and start smaller. And I've been doing this now, been in studios for 15 years. So I know how to do it, but I also have a lot of friends who are going to help me do it even better. You know, we're going to really ball on that budget.
Hey man, once you get going, you know, you start getting some clients, start getting some friends, and it's an amazing idea. So Adam, man, I really appreciate you kind of coming in and hanging out with us. Tell everybody where they can maybe find you. Obviously, everyone wants to check out STARSET's music. Tell us about that.
Yeah,
and then
STARSET,
your personal projects here.
StarSetOnline.com is the band's website. You can obviously just Google STARSET, find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music. We're all over those platforms now. We did just have a #1 single this year.
Yeah,
it was called Waiting on the Sky to Change with the singer from Breaking Ben Burnley, who's an awesome nerd just like us. He actually wants a spacesuit. He wants to be a spaceman. And we're like, we can get you a suit, Ben. He's like, but just don't tell anyone it's me. I'm like, Ben, you're 6'9". Like everyone's going to know it's you in a spacesuit, Ben. Like you can't hide from it. But his little son, baby Ben, we met him when he was about 6 months old. And now he's playing on stage with them. He's an air guitar and playing drums. So we gave him some stuff to try to inspire him too. But I can only hope that, you know, with drum abuse, obviously you got STARSET, but drumabuse.com, drum abuse on YouTube. Drum abuse is just my own creative outlet at the end of the day that I can just know I can always gravitate back to have memories, you know, and hopefully grow from that. But if anyone else does want to be creative and weird, I always challenge them just to go and do it. Don't be afraid of making a mess. Don't be afraid of not getting likes on your picture. If that's all life was ever about, then, you know, I would always be, it's like an everyday battle. Do you want to get likes? Of course. Do you want to make money? Of course. But do you love what you're doing? No. Well, then why are you getting likes in something that you don't even want to be doing? So I would always just challenge people just to, you know, just to look at yourself, always grow yourself, try to be positive, even in moments that are a little less positive. You can always learn from it. And the more we can just come together as people being creative, that's how we're going to make this country stay awesome. And we're going to hopefully make more, you know, get off the internet a little more, be friends in real life. COVID's over, guys. Let's get out of our rooms. Let's go and make friends. Well, it's not over, but, you know, go out there and safely and healthily try to challenge yourself in positive ways.
How did the saying go? Ignorance is slavery.
Ignorance is slavery. Knowledge is freedom. Yeah.
Ignorance is slavery. Knowledge is freedom. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.